South Florida, 2017. The hip-hop landscape was shifting in ways nobody predicted. Streaming platforms were creating overnight sensations, and the traditional industry gatekeepers were losing their grip. One name kept appearing in conversations: Yasse Onfroy, known as X. His sound was unlike anything mainstream hip-hop was ready for. Look at Me exploded on SoundCloud, catching fire with a generation that wanted something darker, more aggressive, more real. The track wasn't polished. It wasn't radio-friendly. It was exactly what made it connect. X was building something powerful, and the industry veterans were taking notice. But success in hip-hop comes with complications, and when you're a young artist making noise, sometimes you catch the attention of people you'd rather avoid. Drake was already at the top of the game by this point, the biggest name in rap, possibly in all of music. When he performed in Amsterdam and previewed tracks from his upcoming project, some fans in attendance noticed something interesting about a song called KMT. The flow sounded familiar. The heavy 808s, the rhythmic pattern, the aggressive delivery, it bore resemblance to X's breakout hit. Social media immediately started making comparisons. For Drake, this was probably just another Tuesday. He'd been accused of taking inspiration from rising artists before, and the allegations never seemed to slow him down. But X saw it differently. Here's what people need to understand about X. He wasn't built for industry politics. He didn't do subtle. He didn't play the long game of carefully worded subliminals and strategic silence. When he felt disrespected, everyone knew about it. And he felt disrespected, Twitter became his battlefield. X went after Drake directly, not just about the music, but personally. He brought up Drake's mother in tweets. He posted images that crossed lines. This wasn't strategic career maneuvering. This was a young artist who felt robbed, responding the only way he knew how. Drake, following his usual playbook, stayed quiet. That silence might have frustrated X even more. The situation got messier when others entered the picture. X claimed he got jumped in Los Angeles in November 2017, pointing fingers at people in Drake's orbit. Whether true or exaggerated, it showed how deep the tension had gotten. This wasn't just online beef anymore. According to X, it had spilled into real-world confrontations. What happened next in February 2018 would become one of the most analyzed social media posts in hip-hop history. X's Instagram story displayed a message that was screenshot and shared thousands of times before it disappeared. The message directly named Drake, or rather his Instagram handle Champagne Poppy, as the person responsible if anything were to happen to X. The post vanished quickly. X claimed someone had hacked his account. He posted an apology saying he wanted to leave the drama behind and focus on his music and growth. He said he didn't want any more enemies, but the internet never forgets. Those screenshots circulated everywhere, saved and shared and discussed endlessly. At the time, most people probably saw it as typical rapper drama, exaggerated threats, social media posturing, young artists seeking attention. Nobody could have known that just 4 months later, that deleted post would transform from internet gossip into potential evidence. Let's talk about what actually happened on June 18, 2018. X was 20 years old. His album had just debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. By every metric, his career was taking off exactly how he'd hoped. Despite all the controversies, despite the legal troubles, despite the beefs, his music was connecting with millions of people. That afternoon in Deerfield Beach was hot and clear. X had business to handle. He went to Bank of America and withdrew a significant amount of cash. His plan was to visit Riva Motorsports, an upscale dealership that sold motorcycles and boats. Maybe he was celebrating his success, maybe he was treating himself to something nice. Whatever his intentions, he had $50,000 in cash in a Louis Vuitton bag. Security cameras captured what happened next, and the footage would become crucial evidence. As X left the dealership in his distinctive black BMW i8, his exit was blocked by a dark-colored Dodge Journey. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't random. The men inside that vehicle had been following him since the bank. Dedrick Williams was driving. In the vehicle with him were Robert Allen, Michael Boatwright, and Trayvon Newsom. Later investigation revealed that Williams had recognized X months earlier during an unrelated probation office visit in January. He noticed X's expensive car and filed that information away. When he spotted that same BMW leaving the bank on June 18th, he put together a plan. The surveillance footage shows two men, Newsom and Boatwright, exiting the SUV with firearms. They approached X's vehicle, demanding property. X's friend who was in the car with him fled. Left alone, X struggled with the armed men. Witnesses and audio from the scene captured X asking what this was for, his voice confused and frightened. He didn't understand why this was happening. The attackers wanted his chain, grabbing at his neck. When that didn't work, Newsom entered through the passenger side where the door remained open and snatched the Louis Vuitton bag. They had the money. The robbery was successful. They could have left. This is the part that transforms a robbery into a murder. Boatwright, holding a rifle, walked back toward X's vehicle. He was 1 or 2 feet away. He looked directly at X, and he fired multiple times. The medical examiner's report detailed the damage. 3 bullets struck X. 2 entered his neck at a downward trajectory, penetrating his chest cavity. These rounds clipped his left lung and grazed his aorta. The trauma was catastrophic. X was transported to the hospital but pronounced dead at 5:51 p.m. that same day. The 4 suspects fled the scene in their rental vehicle, and this is where their arrogance becomes almost incomprehensible. They couldn't resist celebrating. Social media posts showed them flashing stacks of $100 bills. Boatwright's phone search history revealed he'd looked up accessory to murder and X. They weren't trying to hide, they were bragging. Law enforcement moved quickly. 2 days after the murder, Dedrick Williams was arrested on June 20th. He faced first-degree murder charges, robbery with a firearm, and operating a vehicle without a license. Over the next few months, the other 3 were picked up. Robert Allen, Michael Boatwright, and Trayvon Newsom all faced premeditated first-degree murder and armed robbery charges. The case seemed airtight. Video evidence showing the crime, cell phone data placing the suspects at the scene, social media posts displaying the stolen money, digital forensics revealing incriminating searches, witness testimony, physical evidence. The prosecution had everything they needed, but nearly 5 years would pass before the trial began. Legal proceedings moved slowly, complicated by COVID-19 delays and various motions from defense attorneys. When the case finally went to trial in February 2023 at the Broward County Courthouse in Fort Lauderdale, the courtroom was packed. Media outlets from around the world sent reporters. X's fans wanted justice, and nobody expected what was about to happen. Lead prosecutor Pascal Akil laid out the state's case methodically. She walked the jury through the timeline, the evidence, the premeditation. She explained how the defendants had tracked and targeted X, how they trapped him in his vehicle, how they'd stolen his bag, and how Boatwright had killed him without any provocation. The evidence spoke for itself. Then the defense began presenting their strategy, and suddenly the trial exploded into mainstream headlines. Mauricio Padilla, representing Dedrick Williams, made a move that shocked everyone in attendance. He suggested investigators had failed to pursue other potential suspects, and he named Drake directly. Padilla referenced X's Instagram post from February, pointing out that X had specifically named Drake before his death. He questioned why no detective had ever interviewed Drake or anyone in his circle. He argued that Drake was one of the biggest celebrities on the planet, and without a court order, the defense could never depose him themselves. He suggested the investigation had been rushed and incomplete, but Padilla didn't stop there. Court documents filed by the defense listed additional people they wanted to call as potential witnesses, individuals who'd had their own conflicts with X. The defense was building a narrative that X had multiple enemies, any of whom could have had motive. The prosecution was furious. They accused the defense of trial by ambush, of deliberately revealing witnesses at the last minute to create confusion. Legal experts watching the trial were divided. Some called it a desperate Hail Mary with no factual foundation. Others acknowledged that X's own words about Drake gave the defense at least something to work with, even if it was thin. A deposition was scheduled for Drake on January 27th. He didn't appear. According to court filings, process servers attempted multiple times to deliver the subpoena at Drake's California residence, but security refused to accept service, literally closing the gate on them. Drake's legal team, led by attorney Bradford Cohen, fought back aggressively. Cohen argued that Drake had zero connection to the case beyond internet rumors and speculation. He pointed out that Drake's name appeared nowhere in any police reports, in any witness statements, in any evidence. The entire theory, he argued, was built on innuendo. Then came the critical testimony. Robert Allen had already pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in 2022 and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors. As the state's star witness, Allen was asked directly about Drake's alleged involvement. He testified that he had never met Drake, had never heard Williams or anyone else mention Drake in connection with the plan, and knew nothing about any conspiracy involving the rapper. The judge ultimately ruled that there was insufficient evidence to support Drake's involvement in X's death, and the deposition request was quashed. Drake would not testify. With Drake's name cleared from the proceedings, the trial focused back on the actual evidence against the defendants. Witness after witness testified, the surveillance footage was played for the jury, cell phone records were presented, social media posts were examined. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. Both sides rested on March 3rd, 2023. Closing arguments stretched across March 7th and 8th. The jury deliberated and reached their verdict on March 20th. All three defendants were found guilty. The sentencing hearing on April 6 brought its own moments of shock. Trayvon Newsom and Dedrick Williams each received mandatory life sentences without possibility of parole. Michael Boatwright received 2 consecutive life sentences without parole, plus an additional 30 years. The prosecutor, addressing the judge, noted Boatwright's behavior during trial, specifically instances where he laughed during proceedings. The judge's words to Boatwright were harsh but appropriate. He told Boatwright that he turned a robbery into a murder, and in doing so he'd ended 5 lives, including his own. When the guilty verdict was read, Boatwright smiled and blew a kiss at the cameras. No remorse, no regret, just contempt. Robert Allen's sentencing came later, on May 17, 2023. He received 7 years with credit for nearly 5 years already served, followed by 20 years probation. The judge explicitly stated he believed Allen showed genuine remorse, unlike the other defendants. Before sentencing, Allen addressed the court and X's family, saying that sorry didn't begin to express his true remorse. He was released early from prison on October 26, 2023. Most people thought that would be the end of the Drake connection. The court had ruled there was no evidence. The actual perpetrators were behind bars. Justice had been served. But Drake himself seemed to have other ideas. In 2023, Drake released his album For All the Dogs. One track called Daylight featured lyrics that immediately sparked controversy. The song contained a trap beat, and in the chorus, Drake mentioned someone being shot in broad daylight before addressing internet rumors about him. Fans and critics immediately connected these lyrics to X's death and the conspiracy theories that had circulated during the trial. Whether Drake intended the reference or not, the reaction was swift. DJ Scheme, who had worked closely with X and was part of the Members Only collective, publicly called Drake out. He said that all Drake had done after X's death was throw shots to look tougher, to enhance his street credibility. The criticism was pointed and angry. Then boxer Ryan Garcia added fuel to the fire by posting on social media that Drake had killed X. He later deleted the post and apologized, claiming he was just trolling, but the damage was done. The conspiracy theory, which the court had explicitly rejected, was alive and well on the internet. And the legal battles weren't over. In November 2024, Dedrick Williams filed an appeal from prison. His attorney Mauricio Padilla gave interviews discussing the appeal, again bringing up X's Instagram post about Drake. Padilla referenced conversations between DJ Academics and X, where Academics had allegedly warned X about provoking Drake. He mentioned X's mother, Cleopatra Bernard, claiming she knew about the conflict between her son and Drake. The attorney expressed frustration that someone as famous as Drake would likely never be forced to give testimony, regardless of the appeal's merits. Whether the appeal will succeed remains uncertain, but it ensures Drake's name will remain attached to this case for years to come. Meanwhile, Michael Boatwright continues to mock X from prison. He's posted on social media with laughing emojis over images of X's son, Gikumi Onfroy, looking at photographs of his deceased father. His behavior shows complete absence of remorse. He's stated publicly that he's not sorry for what he did and doesn't consider himself evil. Genesis Sanchez, X's girlfriend and Gikume's mother, spoke after the conviction about ensuring their son knows his father's legacy. Gikume was born January 26, 2019, 7 months after X's death. He'll never meet his father outside of videos and photographs. That reality hangs over everything, so where does this leave us? The facts are clear. 4 men tracked X from a bank to a motorcycle dealership. They blocked his vehicle. They robbed him of $50,000. Michael Boatwright shot him 3 times without provocation, killing him. The entire crime was captured on surveillance cameras. The suspects posted evidence of their crime on social media. They were arrested, tried, and convicted. 3 are serving life sentences. 1 cooperated and was released. Drake had no involvement. The court found no evidence connecting him. The cooperating witness testified Drake was never mentioned. Drake's attorneys denied everything. The conspiracy exists only in social media speculation and defense attorney theories rejected by the judicial system. But the theory persists because X himself named Drake before his death. Whether he meant it seriously or was just venting frustration in a hacked moment, those words became a permanent part of the narrative. Combined with their public feud, Drake's alleged history of borrowing from other artists, and the general mystery that surrounds any celebrity death, the conspiracy has proven impossible to kill. The truth is simpler and more depressing than any conspiracy. A talented 20-year-old artist with his whole career ahead of him was murdered over a bag of money. 4 criminals saw an opportunity and took it. One of them made the decision to kill when he could have just driven away. There was no grand plot, no calls from Toronto mansions, no industry hit, just greed, violence, and bad decisions. What remains is a motherless child, grieving family and friends, and a musical legacy cut short. X's son will grow up with stories about his father instead of memories. Fans will forever wonder what music he would have created, and somewhere in a prison cell, Michael Boatwright smiles about it. That's the real tragedy here, not the conspiracy theories or the courtroom drama, but a life ended over nothing and a killer who feels no shame.